It is better to live in this world by begging than to live at the cost of the lives of great souls who are my teachers. Even though they are avaricious, they are nonetheless superiors. If they are killed, our spoils will be tainted with blood. Text number 6. Nachaita vidma karatran giriyo yadva jamemya yadiva najeyuhu yan eva hatva najivi vishamas devastita pramuke dhartarashtraha. Translation. Nor do we know which is better, conquering them or being conquered by them. The sons of Dhritarashtra, whom if we killed, we should not care to live, are now standing before us on this battlefield. Text 7. Karpanyatosho pahata svabhava prishchami tang dharma samudha chetaha yachreyasya nishchitang bruhitan me shishyaste hang shadimam tvam prapanam. Translation. Now I am confused about my duty and have lost all composure because of weakness. In this condition, I am asking you to tell me clearly what is best for me. Now I am your disciple and a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. Text number 8. Nahi papashyami mamatu panyat yachchokam uchoshanam indriyanam avapya bhumav asapatnam rithang rajam suranam apichadhipatyam. Translation. I can find no means to drive away this grief, which is drying up my senses. I will not be able to destroy it, even if I win an unrivaled kingdom on the earth with sovereignty like that of the demigods in heaven. Text 9. Sanjaya uvacha evam uktva rishikesham gudakesha parantavah natyotsya iti govindam uktva tushnim bahubah. Translation. Sanjaya said, having spoken thus, Arjuna, chastiser of enemies, told Krishna, Govinda, I shall not fight, and fell silent. Chapter 2, text 10. Tam uvacha rishikesha prahasan iva bharata sanayor uvayor madhye vishidantam idam vachaha. Translation. O descendant of Bharata, at that time Krishna, smiling in the midst of both the armies, spoke the following words to the grief-stricken Arjuna. Text 11. Shri Bhagavan uvacha ashoschananda shochastvang vragyavadam shabashase gatasun agatasumscha nanushochanti panditaha. Translation. The Blessed Lord said, while speaking learned words, you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor the dead. Text 12. Natvevaham jatu nasang natong neme janadipaha nachaiva nabhavishama sarve vayamataparam. Translation. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. Text 13 in unison. Dehinosmin yata dehe komaram yovanam jara tatha dehantara praptir dhirastatra namuyati. Translation. As the embodied soul continually passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. The self-realized soul is not bewildered by such a change. Text 14. Matras parshastu konteya shitoshna sukha dukkataha agama payino nityastangshatiksha bharata. Translation. O son of Kunti, The non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They rise from sense perception, O scion of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. Thank you so much for chanting. So now we'll return to text number 4, page 76. Arjuna said, O killer of Madhu, Krishna, how can I counteract with arrows in battle men like Bhishma and Drona who are worthy of my worship? Purport. Respectable superiors like Bhishma, the grandfather, and Dronacharya, the teacher, are always worshipable. Even if they attack, they should not be counterattacked. It is general etiquette that superiors are not to be offered even a verbal fight. Even if they are sometimes harsh in behavior, they should not be harshly treated. Then, how is it possible for Arjuna to counteract them? Would Krishna ever attack his own grandfather, Ugrasena, or his teacher, Sandipani Muni? These are some of the arguments by Arjuna to Krishna. Text 5. It is better to live in this world by begging than to live at the cost of the lives of great souls who are my teachers. Even though they are avaricious, they are nonetheless superiors. If they are killed, our spoils will be tainted with blood. Purport. According to scriptural codes, a teacher who engages in abominable action and has lost his sense of discrimination is fit to be abandoned. Bhishma and Drona were obliged to take the side of Duryodhana because of his financial assistance, although they should not have accepted such a position simply on financial considerations. Under the circumstances, they have lost the respectability of teachers, but Arjuna thinks that nevertheless, they remain his superiors, and therefore to enjoy material profits after killing them would mean to enjoy spoils tainted with blood.
That's a important point, that although they were teachers, Dronacharya and Bhishma, but because they lost their respectability, because instead of standing up for the right, for the Dharma, they chose to go along with Duryodhana's plans, which were adharma, against Krishna's desires. Anyone who goes against Krishna is certainly going against Dharma, because Krishna, Dharmam tu sakshat Bhagavad Pranitam. He's the giver of Dharma is Krishna, only Krishna. And he's the top authority. So there's no justification under any circumstance to go against Krishna's desire. So they did that. And Prabhupada paraphrased what Krishna was saying there. He was paraphrasing by telling Arjuna, they should have come on your side. Why did they stay on that side? For what reason? It was for material considerations, because they were being maintained. Therefore, a Brahmana is not supposed to be employed, because if he's employed, then he cannot always choose the right thing to do, because if he's being paid by someone, how can he go against them, even if they're unrighteous? But a Brahmin should be independent. He should, independent in the sense, not independent from Krishna, but independent from his livelihood, his maintenance. He shouldn't depend on anyone else. In other words, he just goes on doing his duty as a Brahmin, as a Vaishnava, devotee of Krishna. And he knows that he doesn't have to serve anyone else to get food. He doesn't worry that if I just go on chanting and teaching as I'm doing, how am I going to eat? He knows Krishna will take care of him. Krishna's Nicho Nichanam, Chaitanas Chaitananam, Eko Vijdati Kama. He's the supplier of all living entities with food. How can he not supply his devotees? Well, Brahman knows that. Therefore, he doesn't worry about his income, or he can just go on teaching the absolute truth without worrying about whether the government will maintain him or not maintain him.
So then text 6. Nor do we know which is better, conquering them or being conquered by them. The sons of Dhritarashtra, whom if we killed, we should not care to live, are now standing before us on this battlefield. Purport. Arjuna did not know whether he should fight and risk unnecessary violence, although fighting is the duty of the Kshatriyas, or whether he should refrain and live by begging. If he did not conquer the enemy, begging would be his only means of subsistence, nor was there certainty of victory, because either side might emerge victorious. Even if victory awaited them and their cause was justified, still, if the sons of Dhritarashtra died in battle, it would be very difficult to live in their absence. Under the circumstances, that would be another kind of defeat for them. All these considerations by Arjuna definitely prove that he was not only a great devotee of the Lord, but that he was also highly enlightened and had complete control over his mind and senses. His desire to live by begging, although he was born in the royal household, is another sign of detachment. He was truly virtuous, as these qualities, combined with his faith in the words of instruction of Sri Krishna, his spiritual master, indicate. It is concluded that Arjuna was quite fit for liberation. Unless the senses are controlled, there is no chance of elevation to the platform of knowledge, and without knowledge and devotion, there is no chance of liberation. Arjuna was competent in all these attributes, over and above his enormous attributes in his material relationships. So Prabhupada is pointing out how Arjuna is resplendent with wonderful qualities which are present in the pure devotee. So Arjuna was very competent to control his mind and his senses, and he was ready to perform austerities, even contrary to his nature, restrain himself in that manner, just to do a righteous thing. But he's not completely sure what is the proper decision. So then comes check 7. Now I'm confused about my duty and have lost all composure because of weakness. In this condition, I'm asking you to tell me clearly what is best for me. Now I am your disciple and a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. Purport. By nature's own way, the complete system of material activities is a source of perplexity for everyone. In every step there is perplexity, and therefore it behooves one to approach a bona fide spiritual master who can give one proper guidance for executing the purpose of life. All Vedic literatures advise us to approach a bona fide spiritual master to get free from the perplexities of life which happen without our desire. They are like a forest fire that somehow blazes without being set by anyone. Similarly, the world situation is such that perplexities of life automatically appear without our wanting such confusion. No one wants fire, and yet it takes place. and we become perplexed. The Vedic wisdom therefore advises that in order to solve the perplexities of life and to understand the science of the solution, one must approach a spiritual master who is in the disciplic succession. A person with a bona fide spiritual master is supposed to know everything. One should not therefore remain in material perplexities, but should approach a spiritual master. This is the purport of this verse. So my comment is, there is another text I was reading from Srila Prabhupada where he was specifically indicating that there's a need for adding this word bona fide, because there's so many persons in the name of guru or spiritual master who are actually misleading the general public. So just like as it is, Bhagavad Gita as it is, there's a need to indicate this is the one that's as it is, because there's so many that are actually contrary to the real conclusion. Additionally, a note that, or an observation that I made, is that when Prabhupada is explaining, he makes a point. The Vedic wisdom therefore advises that in order to solve the perplexities of life and to understand the science of the solution, one must approach a spiritual master who is in the disciplic succession. So in that sentence, he doesn't use the word bona fide, but he describes what it means to be bona fide. It means you come in disciplic succession. So this is the meaning of bona fide. A bona fide spiritual master is a spiritual master who comes in disciplic succession. And the word spiritual master actually has no bearing unless that person is coming in disciplic succession. But in order to make sure nobody has any confusion, if we use the term spiritual master or guru, we can also additionally add the word bona fide. Because within the consciousness, this word or this distinction, it automatically arouses the thought, well, maybe there's something which isn't bona fide that goes under the same name. So that I was thinking about, we were reading in Nectar Devotion that when there is an instruction from a superior, then simultaneously there's, which one must perform a certain activity, there's simultaneously the opposite, which is that one must not perform the contrary. So there's the famous example, one must always remember Krishna, and the injunction or the other side of that is that one must never forget Krishna. So actually the Padma Purana says one must always remember Vishnu. And Prabhupada elucidates, or he brings out from the commentaries of the acharyas, that with that there's the opposite, which one must consider fully. Never forget Krishna, or always remember Vishnu, always remember Krishna, and simultaneously never forget him. There's two actually. Similarly, the point that I was trying to make here is that when we say bona fide spiritual master, we can automatically understand there's such a thing as a not bona fide spiritual master. And when we just say that phrase, it automatically gets people thinking, who am I hearing from? Who am I accepting as my authority? Is the person bona fide? And then we wonder, well, who are you to say who is bona fide? And we say, we don't decide arbitrarily. We have the scripture, we have the acharyas or guru, and we have the sadhus, we have the practitioners who know the scripture and follow it. They can tell me who is a bona fide, who classifies under that term. And so as soon as we say that phrase, then automatically we're thinking. And as soon as we're thinking and we are sincere, then we may ask a question. Krishna may inspire us to inquire. Well, who is bona fide? What's your definition of bona fide? And then when we hear such a satisfactory answer from the acharyas, from the scriptures, and from the devotees, our faith is solidified. That is a process of devotional service. So this is what's so interesting about speaking as it is that when we speak as it is in line with the previous acharyas, it automatically starts bringing forth the proper questions, the proper inquiries. And when we start inquiring, then we come to the human platform. And from there, we can become conscious. And from there, we can become controllers of their senses, Goswamis. And from there, we can become Krishna conscious. So those are some thoughts. There was an example that was given in this paragraph, which is for the perplexities of material life. Does anybody remember? You can use that.
Forest fire?
Yeah, there's a forest fire. And what about it did Prabhupada say? You can just say it. Okay, spiritual master to get out of it? Yes. What else about it?
It just springs up without any endeavor for it to happen.
Yes. Nobody wanted it to start, but it started. Right? So the example is that in the forest, there may be some bamboo and it rubs against each other due to the wind, and it may start a fire. So nobody did that maliciously, but still it's giving troubles. So yes, and as Mataji pointed out, the solution is the guru or the bona fide guru, right? Who comes in disciplic succession. Who knows where that is discussed? The need for a teacher to come in disciplic succession. Does anybody know where that's discussed? Anywhere? That's in chapter 4. So chapter 4 is called Transcendental Knowledge. And chapter 4 discusses the need for approaching a spiritual master. And it also discusses that knowledge is passed through a chain of disciplic succession. Does anybody know the word for disciplic succession? Parampara. Yes. Which I heard means, it literally means one after another. Parampara. So one after another, it's passed. Does anybody know an example for that process? Okay.
There's a ripe mango at the top of the tree. It must be tasted. So one person grabs the mango and passes it down to his friend on the next branch, who passes it down to the one on the next branch. That way it safely gets to the person at the bottom without falling to the ground and getting smashed.
Yes. This is the process. This is the example. This is called the descending process of knowledge. So when there's descending process, there's also ascending process, right? Somehow or other, from the bottom of the tree, I try to attain the mango, which is at the top. You know? It's going to be precarious if I'm alone. On my own endeavor, how am I going to get the mango? Right? I can climb it, right? Juan's good at climbing, so he can go up and get the mango. But then you have to go down with the ripened mango very carefully. So that's not what's recommended. What's recommended is that you take knowledge from up to down. Right? You start at the perfect source. If your source is perfect, if your source is pure, then, then you can be sure you're on the right track. Me being impure, having many defects, if I try to reach up at some knowledge, I don't even know this universe. There was a statement like, we hardly even understand this one universe. So how can we understand God, who's beyond this universe? And that's a nice thought, because every thoughtful man looks up at the sky and thinks, wow, what is happening here? These celestial bodies are flying around in the sky. who has actually done this? What is this world? It's amazing, right? And we can hardly comprehend. If you take magnifying glass and you look at sand particles are very wonderful. They're small crystals, which are all incredibly unique. They're like gems. Actually, every single one of them is like a very unique gem. So we can't even understand, the wonderful, quality of this material world, or all the wonderful details, how it's happening, how it's maintained. We can't go to the depths of the ocean and learn about all the creatures. It's not possible. Of course, the scientists say, no, we're doing it. We'll get there. Don't worry. It's very nice in this material world. And we're making progress towards the problems of life. We're solving death and old age. See, I have this special cream. It's made out of very dangerous chemicals. Or somebody's corpse. That's happening, as far as I understand. So, they're saying that they're on their way, and they're very happy to remain here in this material world. But they're back to the point, they're forced to undergo so many perplexities. Their relationships are hard, troublesome. Their body is giving trouble. The nature is giving trouble, right? Mind is giving trouble. So those are three types of sufferings. Does anybody know a term for sufferings? Threefold sufferings? You can shout it out in Sanskrit. Adidaivika, yeah. Adibhotika and Adhyatmika. What is the other word? Klesha. Okay. So klesha is our sufferings. We're undergoing threefold sufferings by other living entities. That means adibhotika. Then adidaivika means by superior forces, demigods, and then also by adhyatmika. My own mind and my own body is giving me problems. Right? Sometimes I hear this term like I have like a bum knee or something like that. It's always a funny word, got a bum knee or, something like that. Everybody has something going on. Somebody's got this going on with their skin. Somebody's got this going on. Little itchy spot over here, little, infection over there, a little bit of indigestion, or a little bit of, so many weird things happening. And nobody enjoys it, and nobody asks for it. And actually, everybody's working to get out of it. But we don't know the solution. The solution is follow in the footsteps of Arjuna, pick the right person, go to them humbly, surrender oneself. Surrender is another word which we don't like, but it means cooperate. We cooperate with such a bona fide spiritual master, then we will become free from perplexities. And the spiritual master is very merciful. He's naturally very merciful to this sincere student, because this person loves Krishna. They care about imparting transcendental knowledge, which helps one revive love for Krishna. So naturally, they're very much merciful to the sincere and humble student who wants to learn and cooperate with them. So there's no reason to be afraid, of this word surrender. Actually, it's very sweet. It's very, very sweet. I don't have experience, obviously. But when you hear from people who have experience, you almost get a little shadow of that nectar. You know, that's why I really love to watch Following Srila Prabhupada, because when you watch this documentary, you feel the nectar of surrender of all these devotees. And they tell at this moment, you know, I surrendered to Prabhupada. I decided I would cooperate willingly, my voluntary, decision, because I saw this in Srila Prabhupada, or Prabhupada did this, and it just impressed me. It just touched me in such a way. There's one story. One devotee, he was in Australia. Prabhupada went to Australia 6 times. He went maybe once a year. And when he would go, like the whole community of devotees would just come to the temple and just be there. Prabhupada was that, enlivening for their yatra, their mission, their, branch of the movement. And even though devotees were describing that there were some factions and groups and things, when Prabhupada would come, they would all be there. And one of the devotees was saying that he wasn't so, he didn't have very much experience, but Prabhupada met with him, and they had some different exchanges. This devotee, he painted a picture of Radha and Krishna with a peacock behind them. I'm not sure which one it is. I kind of want to know which one it is. But he painted this picture, and he came to Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada came out into the hallway, and he was there with the painting. And he said it was 4 by 4 square, like 4 foot, 4 foot, like a square painting, kind of big, big painting. That's cool. And Prabhupada said, "Oh, what is this?" And the devotee said, "Prabhupada, I painted this for you." He said, "Oh, very nice." And the devotee was describing that at that time he was wearing long hair, he was wearing long hair. And Prabhupada said, "And what is this?" And the devotee was describing that. He said, he started trying to explain, "Well, Prabhupada, I want to kind of like look in such a way where people aren't so intimidated or something like that. They'll think I'm a normal person, we'll try to." And then he stopped halfway and he said, "Yeah, I knew it was bogus." So, and Prabhupada just rubbed him on the head, and he laughed and smiled, and he said, "Okay, bring that in here." And immediately, that devotee, he was completely purchased by Prabhupada's kindness, knowing exactly how to deal. And the devotee was describing, because I was actually not very devotionally strong or spiritually strong, then he always was gentle with me in that way, And so they brought the painting in, and Prabhupada said, "Hang this right here." He hang it in a certain place in the room. I forgot which it was, maybe before, over his bed or at the bottom of his bed. He said, "I want this to be the first thing I see when I wake up, and I want this to be the last thing I see when I go to sleep." And he said, the devotee said he was finished. That was it. Prabhupada was his life and soul. He said that was the perfection of my of anything that I could do, And so when we hear such things, we're thinking, wow, so attractive, so amazing, sweet surrender. I want a little piece of that. I want to develop that mood somehow or other. I want to have an exchange like that one day. And, that's what Krishna's looking for. And he sees that whenever we're actually sincere, he will send such a person into our life. There's a verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita that Brahmanya Brahmite Bhagavan ko najiv. No, I forgot it. Brahmanya Brahmite, I think it's Bhagavan, no, Kona Bhagavan Yajiv, something like that. Fortunate soul who comes in, who is wandering all over the universe, right? Then this person, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij, by the mercy of Guru Krishna. And Prabhupada, when he talks on this verse, he mentions that Guru Krishna, not Krishna Guru, Guru Krishna Prasad. You need mercy from Guru first, then Krishna. But what's interesting is that Krishna sends, if you're sincere in your spiritual path and you want to learn how to become free from these perplexities, which we spoke about, then Krishna will send you a spiritual master just to enlighten you from without. Because he sees from within your sincerity, because he's super soul within the heart. Krishna is always in the spiritual world, and he's always meditating on his devotees. Just like a sea turtle meditates on her children on the shore of the beach. Similarly, he maintains his devotees by touching them, and he maintains his devotees by seeing them. So in this way, Krishna is always hankering after us to become back with him. And he's thinking, will it be this time? When will he come back to me? When he sees us from within, turning our face just a little bit, maybe I don't know actually every single thing. Maybe I don't know everything. Maybe. No, maybe I don't know everything. Then he says, oh, that's a nice start. Then he will send, little by little, he'll lead us. Then he brings us a bona fide representative of Krishna. If we're sincere, if we're insincere, he may send us rascals, and we'll have to have our sincerity tested, But if we're seeking the essence, then we may be able to avoid the pitfall of teachers who are less than completely pure devotees, And at a certain point, we'll meet the pure devotee and we'll be given a chance to take the relationship further by cooperation. So the verse was that he gives by the mercy of Guru and Krishna, the seed of devotional service is given. So this is some discussion on this topic, and I'll stop there. Thank you so much for your kind attention. Maybe devotees can take a few minutes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for the nice class. Please accept my humble obeisances. I was just wondering, this kind of been on my mind. I was wondering, when, in the discharge of our devotional activities, we put other living entities in distress. What exactly is that?
Well, the warrior on the battlefield must kill, right? If you're a man at war, you must kill. I mean, that's the premise of the whole situation. You have your free will, obviously. Arjuna was deciding whether he wanted to or not. But normally, one receives an order by the general, by the superiors, say, please enter into this village and kill any hostiles. Right? So then the order is there. Then that person gets a gold medal. Now we may disagree with this type of reasoning, we may have our sentiments and things like that are there. But the example is given that in general, such a person is given a medal and an award for acting on the order of the superior, even if it's a violent result. But if he decides to kill even one person, or even attack them or harm any one person without that order, that military man may make a complaint. Well, hey, when I went to war, I killed so many people and I got a medal. And now I kill one person and you're on my case? So that's the key, is if it's our order, then we can execute with faith. This is my duty. And when we're working our duty, we are trying our best not to disturb, especially when we're doing our preaching activities. We must prosecute this movement. We must spread the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. We must spread transcendental knowledge about Krishna. That is our duty given by the previous acharyas. So we must execute it. But when we do so, we try our best to do so, leaving a favorable impression with every person. You know, that's an art. You know, one should learn that art. You know, one should learn that art. How to speak in such a way that they aren't disturbed. How to interact, how to flow, how to, you know, navigate in such a way that they aren't disturbed. That's just an example I thought about because that's what we do. And usually that's when people become disturbed. If it's a devotee that's getting disturbed, then, and we have a perception that he's getting disturbed, you know, that happens. Better we stay on the boat, you know. So we may give each other trouble, but we don't want to give up the whole operation just because he's getting bothered, because I'm trying to do my duty. I don't try to disturb him. I try to do my duty as I've understood it from my authorities. And if he has a different perception, that's called family. Right? It's just a family thing. You know? He's got his way and I got my way. We're family. What to do? You know? So like that. Those are some thoughts. Hare Krishna. Okay. Thank you so much, devotees. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai.